Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Reva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyam Ravikam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So for Prithvi, our text that we're working on is Atmabodha, and it's written by Adi Shankara. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, I am. I know. I've heard of him. A very renowned persona. Yes.
Yes. So this is what we call one of the Prakarana texts, which are workbooks. So they are exercises in contemplation and reflection about the nature of the self and about the nature of ultimate reality. And it's written, each verse has a metaphor in it. So that's the poetic style of it. We're almost at the very end of the text. So does someone remember what verse we're on?
57.
Say again?
57.
57?
Yes.
Okay, for those of you who are following along, verse 57. So will you help us out, please, Sambhaya?
Atad vyavritti rupena vedantai lakshate dvayam akhanda ananda mekam yattat brahmetya vadharayet. Realize that to be Brahman, which is non-dual, indivisible, one and blissful, and which is indicated in Vedanta as the immutable substratum, realized after the negation of all tangible objects.
Yes. So last week we were introduced to one of Shankara's most beautiful notions, Atma Ramana, reveling in Brahman. So if we go to Gita, in chapter 2, my favorite verse, verse 55, when a person casts off all the desires of the mind, that's the first thing. letting go of our attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. Doesn't mean we avoid the world. The world is not bad. And the world is Brahman. So we have to let go, let go, let go. But that's only half of it. Then we develop this capacity to tune up the mind, drown the mind in Brahman. Here, Lord Krishna says, and is satisfied in the self by the self. And to remember that we experience the bliss of the self in two ways. The ordinary person gets a kiss of the bliss of Brahman. Again, using the language in the 4th chapter of Gita, Deva Yajna as opposed to Brahma Yajna. Deva Yajna here means through some activity, some interaction in the world. Desire and object of desire become one. The ignorant person thinks the happiness is in the person, place, thing, or situation. The yogi knows, that's a mediated experience of my own self-nature. Own your ananda. But that's only half the project. Even if you understand that, and that's your only way of tasting, the world will still grab you by the nose and lead you around. So that second half of it, Brahma Yajna, here meaning the capacity to have a non-mediated experience, meaning there's no medium, no person, place, thing, or situation is causing it. So the yogi develops the capacity at any time just to unknow the mind, to immerse the mind in the self, this Atmabodha. And in this verse, Shankara is saying the way we abide in that is to deal with 3 questions. The first we've spent a lot of time on. Koham, who am I? I am not the body, I am not the prana, I'm not the mind, I'm not the thoughts. I'm the witnessing space of consciousness. Then what is this world? And we have to reconcile 2 scriptural statements. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman, which is consciousness, alone is real. The phenomenal world, the names and forms, Nama Rupa, Nitya, illusion, a hologram, a virtual reality. And in the end, we see Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily just Brahma, just consciousness. How do the names and forms come about? By means of sankalpa. My experience of the world is a function of my deeply rooted attitudes and beliefs. But I microcosmically participate in, recreate the creative process. And Ishvara, by means of sankalpa, imagines this universe. So inside Brahman, outside Brahman. Let go. Pulse, to fix, to alter, to struggle. The mark of the woman or the man of steady wisdom is they've given up the struggler. This brings us santosha, contentment. Any thoughts on this verse? Next one.
Akhanda ananda rupasya tasya ananda labhastritaha brahmatyas taratam yena bhavantya nandino khila. Deities like Brahma and others taste only a particle of the unlimited bliss of Brahman and proportionately enjoy their share of that particle.
So the idea here is those people identify with a form. So even the gods only get a portion of the akhanda ananda, unending, unlimited bliss. But the sage of steady wisdom surpasses even the gods because they've given up identification with any idea of self. I'm working on Vivekachudamani with a student. We're in the 370s or something of the verses. And Shankar just lays it out so clearly. Samadhi, deep abidance of the mind and the self, is not available unless you're a person of supreme renunciation. And that doesn't mean leaving the world. It means letting go. It means non-attachment. Without samadhi, there is no knowledge of the self. And without knowledge of the self, there's no peace. There's no happiness. What does knowledge of the self give us? In the end, just two very important things. One, it frees me from existential fear. Wendy and I were talking about fear beforehand. My opinion, fear is the activator of virtually all our kleshas, all our character defects. What am I afraid of? I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to lose what I have. And I'm not going to be okay. Somehow I'm going to be thrown into some abyss. All of that is rooted in spiritual ignorance. It's rooted in, I think I'm my body. Truth is, nothing's going to harm you, ever. I am Atma Brahma. This self is Brahman. Untouched by anything. Don't believe me. In a quiet mind with the attentive faculty turned within. See if you can find a suffering person in there. You may find a suffering mind, but you are the knower of that mind. Let it go and see what's the nature of you. There's no suffering there. Whatever external circumstance, it will pass. I promise you that. Whatever mind state you're in, it will pass. All forms pass, without exception. But you are Nityananda, eternal bliss, is your self nature. First intense renunciation, coupled with this intense introversion of the mind, not letting it compulsively gush into the world. This makes samadhi easy. When the mind slows down enough, stops. And the individuality is seen to be just a shadow self. I call it fake news. In the world, feminine. Then we can easily let go of the world of nature. Peace comes very quickly at that point. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Tadyukta makilam vastu vyavahara stadanvita tasmat sarvagatam brahma shire sarpiri vakile. All the objects are pervaded by Brahman. Also, all actions are possible because of Brahman alone. Therefore, Brahman permeates everything as butter permeates milk.
And what was the last sentence?
Therefore,
As butter permeates milk.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So the idea is you milk the cow. You didn't go to the market and get cow juice in those days. You had to milk the cow to get the milk. And then if you want butter, what do? You churn, and the butter comes out of the milk. The butter fat. So all the names and forms, what is the material cause of them all? What is the stuff out of which they are made? All Brahman. Again, Vedanta becomes very easy to understand if you go to the dream state. If I dream about a coffee table, to the dreamer, it seems just as real as this one does in my living room. But what is the dream coffee table made of? It's the fabric of my mind. Vibration held together by thought. This is no different. Now, if its material cause is Brahman, Brahman never leaves its nature. Satchidananda Rupa is the form of the nature of pure existence, consciousness, and bliss absolute. The bliss becomes obscured when I superimpose my crazy mind on it all. Letting go. The world doesn't need to be fixed. In terms of vyavahara, our own transactions, our own activities in the world, just let the equipment do its duty. But letting go of our attachment to the fruits, our identification with the sense of agency, just guna and karma acting in the world. You are untouched by it. And the substratum, Brahman, is untouched by what appears to be the sorrows of the world. Now, for the person of steady wisdom who sees from this place, the world appears to change. So one of my spiritual heroes, Ramana Maharshi, all sorts of stories. And St. Francis, the same way. Wild beasts would come up to him. There's no sense of otherness. And the world is no longer a place where we have to do battle. Any thoughts on this? Do you have a Francis story you can tell us, Mike?
A lot of Francis stories.
What about animals reacting to it, responding to it?
I mean, the biggest, the one that's most famous is from a wolf in Gubbio, who the wolf was known for eating the townspeople. He would come eat the kids, and that was just what was happening. The townspeople were afraid of the wolf. Well, as Francis came to town once and saw this and heard about this, he decided to go talk to the wolf. He had a pact with the wolf. They made a promise. And he worked out a negotiation with the townspeople that they would feed him, he'd stop eating them. So they started feeding the wolf, and the wolf stopped eating them, and they became friends. And his grave, the wolf's grave, is actually still in the Gubbio. You go visit where they buried him.
A kinship with all of life.
And even within, I think for Francis, even that understanding, like if you feed the thing you are afraid of, like if you befriend it, you're no longer afraid of it. It's no longer enemy. It's just part of all of it.
All right, next verse.
Ana vastula ma swa madirga majamapyayam arupa guna varnakyam tat brahmeta yabhatharet bhatyaret. Realize that to be Brahman, which is neither subtle nor gross, neither short nor long, without birth or change, without form, attributes, color, or name, and name.
So the self is like space, like the sky, without a form, arupa, neither subtle nor gross. It is not gross like the objects in the physical world. It is not subtle like the energy or the subtle body with its thoughts and feelings. Yet it pervades all dimensions, yet is beyond. Where is the self? I am Atma Brahma. The self is Brahman. Tat Tvamasi. You are that. It's not to be achieved. It's not to be attained. It's not to be merged into. You don't become it. Realize you've always been it. But that knowledge is incredibly valuable. You may have something of great value and not know that it's very valuable. I like Antiques Roadshow. People find that out all the time. Oh yeah, Grandma, I have this old picture. I don't know what it is, but she said she picked it up at a garage sale for $10. Well, this is a valuable painting. It's worth $250,000. Oh my God. Well, you better not let the dogs chew on it anymore, So I think myself is little, powerless, stupid, weak, not enough. What I come to realize, it's everything I've been looking for, everything I've been searching for. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Yad bhasa bhasyate karti bhasyair yattu na bhasyate yena sarva vidam bhati tat brahmetya vadharaye. That by the light of which the luminous orbs like the sun and the moon are illumined, but that which is not illumined by their light, realize that to be Brahman.
So here Shankara is hinting at a very interesting point. So he's dealing with the idea of lights. So a light is that illumines all the non-luminous objects. So here we are, it's nighttime in my living room and I've got lamps by which we're able to see the carpet, the table, the bowl, etc. But you don't need another light to shine on the lamp. Then the sun and the moon are big lights. They light the whole world. But you are Prakasha. You are the light of awareness by which everything is known. Nothing can be known save a knower knows. And of course, quantum physics gets very gnarly here. They're getting very close to the Vedanta. The very act of knowing something is what gives it form. It reifies it. Now, how do I know myself? What is it that knows consciousness? Is there consciousness one that knows consciousness two? Am I going to be waiting in meditation? Oh, there's consciousness going by. No. There is no other knower to know the self. Yet yourself is not unknown. How do you know you are you? You don't see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. Yet you know you are. The self is its own means of knowledge. It is Swayambhu, self-evident. Swayam Jyoti, self-effulgent, self-luminous. It is a knowing that's different than all other knowing. The knowing of the phenomenal world, subject, object. I know objects, I know feelings, I know thoughts, I know memories, I know energy. But self-evidence is a different kind of knowing, and it is constant. I look at the table, I know the table. I take the bus up to Piedmont Avenue today, I'm knowing table, I'm knowing bus. But I never disappears. I is an eternal factor. Doesn't need protecting, doesn't need improving, doesn't need defending. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Mantar bahir vyapya bhasya nan kilam jagat brahma prakashate vagni. Prataptaya Sapindavat, pervading the entire universe within and without. The supreme Brahman shines by itself like the fire that permeates a red hot iron ball and glows by itself.
Yes. So again, he's using the metaphor of a blacksmith. But he starts off saying, Antaha Bahihi, inside and outside. It's full. So there's the direct experience of myself. I know I am me, the self-evidence of the self, but listen carefully. The knowing of the world is still the self-knowing of Brahman. There is in the end no other knowledge. Now, his metaphor of the blacksmith is this. So I may have shared this with you. Did I talk about when I was a kid? We had the blacksmith, the
Yeah.
farrier come to shoe the horses. But just to review, so the blacksmith comes to shoe the horses, and he has a forge in the back of his pickup truck. And then what does he take? He takes the blank of the shoe, which is metal. It's cold, it's solid, and it has no glow. He puts it into the forge, and it becomes red hot and malleable, almost white hot. Then he can form it so it can take the shape of the horse's hoof. So the glowing horseshoe itself does not have the dharma of fire. It borrows it. Likewise, all the names and forms, and especially what he's talking about here, living things, they are fundamentally inert. The life in them is Brahman. And form drops away and life remains. Deepak Chopra was having a conversation, one of these talk shows. Fabulous what he responded to. He said, the opposite of life is not death. The opposite of death is birth. There is no opposite to life. Look to your direct experience. Circumstances change. Your body changes. Prana changes. Your feelings change. Your opinions and ideas change. But something there is that's always been there. You knowing all the change. In a quiet mind, look. It's because of you that the body moves, the mind feels, the intellect thinks. And even when they fall away, you. Any thoughts on this? What verse are we on?
63.
We're going to finish tonight, I think. All right, next one.
Jagat Vilakshanam Brahma Brahmano Jnana Kinchana Brahman Yat Bhati Chen Mithya Yatha Maru Marichika. Brahman is other than the universe. There exists nothing whatsoever that is not Brahman. If any object other than Brahman appears to exist, it is unreal like the mirage.
Yes. So, the scriptures will talk about the Jnana Chakshu, the eye of wisdom opening, and we destroy the universe. The scriptures will use phrases like merge the universe into the self. And there are two ways of looking at these verses. Both are important. The first is a reference to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In Samadhi, when the mind thunders to a stop, personal sense of self and the phenomenal world are not available. It is like deep sleep, in that there's no mind, no world, no person. But unlike sleep, you are fully conscious. Then when the mind returns, it goes, oh my gosh, I'm not a person. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. But there's another way to interpret the scripture here. So when I'm driving through the desert and my senses report water and my knowledge is water, and oh my gosh, I'm going to have to take a detour. So I keep driving and the water keeps receding. I go, wow, very cool. It's not water, it's a mirage. Now listen carefully. My senses continue to report to me what looks like water. The child sees the rainbow and says, Mommy, Mommy, get the car. Let's go find the end of the rainbow and get the pot of gold. Mommy sees the same rainbow as the child, but she knows it's just light refracted through moisture in the air. Nothing substantial. So the yogi disappears in the world with the eye of wisdom by seeing it for what it is. Now, what's the practice? Start by being open to the idea that the world is dream-like, but it's not solid. Be open to that idea. Then what do? We endeavor to withdraw our energy, what Shankara will call Shama and Dhamma in Vivekachudamani. Culminating in Uparati, sense withdrawal. He says the best sense withdrawal is when you're functioning in the world and you're no longer agitated by the appearance of the objects. Then we keep thinning the mind. Tanu manasa. Keep looking at the world. But as your mind thins, the world starts to thin. I had a student once say, "Oh my gosh, it's like you can stick your hand right through it all. It's just like a transparency." Yeah. The mind is the world is the mind. Thin the mind and the world will thin. As you see the world thin, and you see that the names and forms are just a superimposition on consciousness. Nothing really there to get upset about. It's just like going to a movie. Any thoughts on this? What makes the world seem solid to me? When I focus on it with attachment, desire, and aversion. We've all had some form of that. So, Wendy, when you were running Rivoli, did you ever have a new server come and there was, some problematic customer and they come back into the kitchen and they're absolutely distraught? How many problematic customers have you dealt with over the years?
Many.
Do you lose your serenity over a problematic customer?
Not so much. No.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's the difference?
Getting used to it and seeing
And
it's-
detached.
yeah.
Yeah. Or if you're a parent, newborn baby, after the fourth or fifth kid. Very different. The world changes when we change our mind. Abhyasa vairagya, practice and intense renunciation. That's you. Next verse.
Drishyate shruyate yadya brahmano jnana tad bhavet tat vajna nacha tat brahma satchidananda madvayam. All that is perceived or heard is Brahman and nothing else. Gaining the knowledge of the reality, one sees the universe as the non-dual Brahman, existence, consciousness, bliss, absolute.
Yes. So, again, in this concluding portion, he's working on helping us see the self in and through all the objects of the world. There are some of us who studying Vedanta, get as far as being able to see that I'm the witness. I'm not the body, I'm not the prana, not the mind, not the intellect, the witnessing consciousness. And I think that's it. Now, see the self in and through all the forms. This is meditative work we don't do just in our meditation seat. This is work we do in the world. So we take up practices like, if I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the klesha, the affliction. Well, if I get cheated, don't I have a right to be angry? Do anything you wish. Knock yourself out. We will gladly refund your suffering. But you don't have to get upset. Nobody has the power to make me feel anything. You've got to stop saying things like that. It makes me feel sad. Absolutely a lie. I get triggered when you talk like that. It's nonsense. No one has the power to make us feel anything other than the power I give them. Now, the opposite is true too. I don't have the power to make anybody feel anything as well. Might as well keep my opinions to myself. The yogi constantly watching. Oh, look at that. It's never out there. My klesha, my affliction, my dosha, my character defect. It's axiomatic. Shankara at other times will use the metaphor like water going through a wicker basket. Just let the sensory data pass through. Both positive and keep the mind poised. Introvert. Samadrishta is equality. Next verse.
Sarvagam Satchidatmanam Jnana Chakshu Surnikshate Ajnana Chakshu Surniksheta Bhaswantam Bhanumandhavat. Though Atman is of the nature of pure consciousness and ever present everywhere, yet it can only be perceived by the eye of wisdom. Just as the blind do not see the resplendent sun, so too one whose vision is obscured by ignorance does not see the self.
Yes. So this is a secret We are dealing with two kinds of knowledge, of knowing here. The real knowledge, the perfect knowledge, is the self-evidence of the self. And the great cosmic joke is everybody already has it. No matter how miserable you are, do you exist? Oh, yes, I exist. What's your existence like? Miserable. Do you know your misery? Oh, I know my misery. Let me tell you all about it. I am, I know. That's never absent, ever. So what's the problem? The problem is my mind. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. What is my bondage? Here Shankara says, caused by ignorance. Because of ignorance, I do not know I am Brahman. I think I'm the body, or the body plus the personality. I think the world of name and form is separate from me and real. What is liberation? What is moksha? Listen carefully. It doesn't happen to the self. It happens to the mind. There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction in the mind when the buddhi becomes buddha. Not that I'm a realized person. No, aham brahmasmi. I am rooted in direct experience. Technical term for this is pratyabhinyanam, recognition. It's the aha. Oh, let me give you a worldly example. We've done this so many times. Rub your hands together. That's the direct experience, hand rubbing. What's the instrument for hand rubbing? Hands. Now we're going to do a second function. We're going to reflect on it. When you rubbed your hands together, was it cold or warm? Warm. Was it motion or stasis? Motion. What instrument did I use to reflect on that? My intellect. Two different things. With your intellect, rub your hands together. Can't do it. So what happens in meditation? As I keep this letting go, and in an auspicious moment, when the space between the thoughts is long enough, and the attentive faculty of the mind is turned within, the mind ends, the sense of individuality ends. Even if it's only for a flash. Then when the mind returns, it reflects on that. It goes, oh, there's no person there. There's only Chidakasha, the space of pure awareness. Weird. I had this long dream that I thought I was a person with all these problems. And I was Brahman all along. Stupid. That's the intellect going through that stuff. The pratyabhiඥāna. That's the jnana chakshu, the eye of wisdom. Neither the ignorance nor that realization affects, alters, changes yourself. Well, then why bother with it? Because what's the problem? Suffering is the problem, and it's the mind that suffers. Jim, sounds like you're brainwashing us. That's exactly right. You've got a dirty mind. You need to make it nirmala without any dirt, without any taint. Be Shuddha, extremely pure. Next one.
हृदाकाशोदितो ह्यात्मा बोधा भानु स्तमोपार्थ सर्वव्यापी सर्वधारी भाति भास्यते खिलम. The Atman, the sun of knowledge that rises in the heart, destroys the darkness of ignorance, pervades and sustains all, shines by itself, and also makes everything shine.
So here Shankara waxes his most poetic. So at the dawn of knowledge, oh, I see, I know. That personal sense of self may disappear altogether if the samadhi is deep. But at least if you have these, what we call fleeting samadhis, you'll see, oh, it's not real. I can see that it's not real. I can see that when I get identified, it's an illusion. Now you have something real with which to work. You can just remember, if I feel like a person, I'm deluded. Drop it. It illumines the whole world. It illumines the equipment. The God that we seek. What you're looking for, you're looking with. Closer than hand or foot, closer than the breath, closer than your most intimate, private thought. It's my very self. How many more do we have? Two?
Just one.
One more. Perfect.
दिग्देश काल ध्यान पेक्ष्य सर्वगम शीतार्थिर नित्य सुखम निरंजनम यस्वत्मातीतं भजते विनिष्क्रिया ससर्विता सर्वगतो मृतो भवेत्. One who renounces all activities, who is free of all the limitations of time, space, and direction, who worships his own Atman, which is present everywhere, which is the destroyer of heat and cold, which is stainless and eternal bliss, becomes all-knowing, all-pervading, and thereafter attains immortality.
Yes. So again, the language falls short, we don't attain, we don't really become. We realize I've always been in. Now, you either know the self or you don't. It's like the optical illusions in the comic papers on Sunday. Can you find the 10 bunnies in the picture? Oh, there they are. You see it or you don't. But how deeply the mind can revel in breath. How deeply the mind can retire into the sound. That is like trying to count to the highest number. There's no end. So as the person of knowledge moves through their life, we can call these post-enlightenment samadhi. It just gets deeper and deeper. And if we have the great punya, the great merit to meet a great Lord, even if we've had the taste ourselves, it can inspire us. Oh, I see there's so much deeper to go. Different choose. So is that the end of the book?
Yes.
All right. So as we always do, we return to the very first shloka because we always now do what we call swadhyaya, meaning our own self-study. So this little book is really deep. And the deeper we get, we bring fresh eyes and understanding to it. It will continue to reveal deeper and deeper things. So if you chant verse 1 again.
Tapo bihi shina papanam shantanam vitarakinam mumukshuna mapeksho yatma atmabodho vidhiyate. I'm composing this Atmabodha, the treatise on the self-knowledge, for those who have purified themselves by austerities, who are peaceful in heart, who are free from cravings, and are desirous of liberation.
So back to the beginning. And many of us will read that first verse and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So we will end the class on time after all. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you all for a wonderful class.